Good evening. Anton, hereditary diseases that children suffer from are a result of parents passing their constraining structures onto their children. My grandfather had asthma. My father and my sister also had it since childhood. I do not have it. Not all children inherit their parents' spasms equally.
Parents create the physical body for the future child. Accordingly, they create it as they are able to, and this is all written in genetics. One way or another, the genetic code is gradually being deciphered, and it becomes obvious that the body that will be formed can even be predicted by calculating the genetic code of the mother and father. That is, it is possible to predict what will be broken in what proportions, and how far all of this will be from perfection. Next, when the state of the physical body is determined, it is offered to the particles of consciousness, and the particles of consciousness, according to their needs and requests, they choose a physical body. Then, when the physical body comes under the control of the particle of consciousness, the mechanisms of free will are activated. Therefore, these are merely starting conditions. Light. Asthma primarily affects people who are dissatisfied with their lives, unhappy with their fate, dissatisfied with what is happening around them, who feel powerless to change anything, and who constrain themselves with arbitrary rules and orders. This can include religious people who suffer from their religion. These can be some household customs that everyone suffers from, and no one wants to follow them, yet for some reason, they must be followed. Well, that is, some kind of primitive nonsense begins in a person's life when you are not allowed to do anything simply because you are not allowed to do anything, and why you are not allowed to do anything, no one explains. At this moment, despondency, dissatisfaction, and resistance to all of this arise. And if a person does not allow themselves to break free from all of this, continues to suffocate themselves with thoughts like, no, I must, no, I have to, well, that's just how it is. These are the customs, these are the rules. In other words, they begin to convince themselves on a psychological level that, well, it has to be this way, while everything else within them is just screaming that it shouldn't be this way. It resists. But the response to this resistance is self-suppression, and this is a direct path to asthma. Write down. The red carpet, even. It seems you managed to liberate yourself, to send everyone away with their rules and orders, and to move in your own direction, despite everything and against all odds. Therefore, you managed to escape the consequences that your parents faced. In other words, you became unreachable for this. Such things could not appear in your life because you were simply more mobile, more liberated, and decided not to suffocate yourself with rules whose meanings you do not see. I did exactly the same. My parents tried to suffocate me in the traditions of the Soviet Union. I said, no guys, there will be no Soviet Union in my head. I will move in the direction I deem necessary. Yes, there were conflicts. Yes, there were grievances. Yes, there were various attempts. They tried to herd me into the flock, but I resisted as much as I could, and my lungs are also perfectly fine. Although my parents had no issues with their lungs either, they were okay living that way. It was enjoyable for them. But if a person does not agree to live that way but continues to do so, then yes, that's when the lungs give out. Well, in general, yes, parents certainly transfer their constraining structures and spasms onto a living, formed child. But these constraining structures and spasms may not be acquired. At a certain point in time, for example, there lives a father, and his body starts to break down. He begins to worry and twitch about it. He began to create constraining structures. These constraining structures affected the children, but while his body was more or less strong, he resisted. He did not create these constraining structures, and they did not extend to the children. That is, we must not forget that we are all living people, that we have free will, and that everything is quite changeable. At the same time, the presence of basic settings has not been cancelled. They exist, but they are not obligatory. You can also evade them.
Excessive responsibility, control, and pushing oneself to the background.
Well, a sense of self-importance is happy, and the inability to overcome stress leads to diabetes. That's all. And why does such inability occur? Because of rigidity in views, the loss of the ability to change. The loss of the ability to dance with reality rather than stomping like an elephant in a china shop. And when you lose the ability to dance with reality and the flexibility of your views, immediately anyone who creates a stressful situation for you becomes a reason for offense, aggression, rejection, and repulsion. And these are all the constraining structures that a person tightens around themselves, and their body starts to break down, jumping on its own. Therefore, If we are talking about what will truly bring results, then truly accepting reality as it is will bring results. It is not an attempt to shape reality to oneself. A person does not have enough energy to bend reality to themselves because God shapes it, and a person has less energy than God. It is a skill to fit into the reality that exists, to constantly change, to constantly update one's value system, to constantly evolve, to constantly open one's heart, to constantly be flexible, flowing, and fiery. And this will truly eliminate from the body a process called diabetes. Practical energy and all the aspects that I showed there are indicators of what you represent. If a person sits and cannot reach their first energy center, it means their vitality is approaching zero, because a person's vitality is potentially reflected in the energy of the first center. This is a way to self-diagnose. This is the opportunity to reveal oneself through self-diagnosis, and then to ensure that one does not close oneself off. This is the opportunity to start transforming and changing oneself through energy into states where you are more powerful, mobile and fast, and also conscious. It is not so that we are all over and there on the loss of a bathhouse or yourself for the energy center and everything, and from the cornucopia there and health there flowed, and all this is what is mainly traded on the market. No. This system of self-diagnosis and real awareness of what you represent here is not the brain will draw for you that you are sick because you have excessive responsibility. And the fact that you are sick because half of your body is a solid fettering structure through which consciousness cannot flow. It is like a tongue that touches metal in the cold, immediately sticking and crystallizing. You need to stop stressing. You need to learn to overcome stress. Leave people alone. They are not to blame for anything. They do what they are supposed to do. They are all conduits of spirit. Therefore, they need to be left alone, first and foremost, from grievances, aggression, and rejection. Accordingly, focus on perceiving your energy, ensuring it does not crystallize, tighten, or spasm. Carefully observe your life, specifically what you do when your energy crystallizes, and stop doing that. Well, on a physical level, you can gradually train yourself to handle stressful situations. What does this mean on a physical level? It can be a contrast shower. Well, of course, you shouldn't first steam in a bath and then jump into a snowdrift. That's not how this system works. Washing in a bath, steaming in a bath, jumping into a shower, jumping into the snow can be done by those who have their physical body in order. Here one must be careful. Warm water, cool water, that's already stress for the body. The body starts to train and gradually adapt to this. I guarantee that if you start doing this, then trying to cool yourself with a cold shower after a warm one will lead to a surge of aggression, a surge of hatred, a surge of resentment. Why? Because it's a habit like that, and this habit causes diabetes, wishing you love and harmony.
Yes, there is another interesting observation. For example, I was asked about a person, whether I know where he is. And I respond with the first thing that comes to mind, and it turns out that it's all true. Or someone talks about another person without naming him, and I get his image. It's so unusual, as if reading someone else's thoughts.
I caught such clear moments about how this happens without my request about 3 times. Good messages from a person who starts to pull their everyday life with the skills I talk about. Our 6th gates, with the speed of thought, probe the space and immediately provide the correct answer if we don't give the brain a chance to distort it. And our brain loves to distort. If we don't let it do that and immediately try to voice what the 6 gates have sensed as accurately as possible, if the person immediately voices it without doubts, reflections, or analysis just right away, then the answer turns out to be absolutely flawless. It becomes correct, and the ability, thus, interacting with your own energy is a very correct and very good skill, described quite accurately. That's why I always say the inner dialogue is turned off and we try to perceive, contemplate, and be aware of these processes. It is precisely awareness. In awareness, there is no dialogue. In awareness, it is all insight. It is illumination. It is a flash. It happens immediately. Just like that, there is no time. And it works through the 6th gates, such skills.
And if you are sick and have a fever, you can practice. To be honest, I have some strange illness. The temperature rose to 38, yet my head is clear and nothing hurts. Recently, there was progress in the heart-opening practice. I finally felt this bind point clearly. The fire was much stronger than before. I don't know, maybe it's somehow related.
Yes, one needs to be more careful with terms here because when a person makes energetic leaps, in practice, the physical body may react by raising the temperature. And this is not related to viruses, diseases, or any processes of everyday life. There is such an effect. In a completely healthy person, the body raises the temperature to 39.5-40 degrees once a year. And this is normal. It should be that way. A healthy, strong body should work like this. Accordingly, when there is a sharp increase in vitality, when there is a sharp rise in energy, which happens precisely at the moment when a person strives for their soul and tunes in, synchronizes, such a process can very well activate in the physical body. This process is necessary to cleanse and burn off various toxic substances. Parasites that penetrate us in one way or another, that is, our body conducts prevention, and this is absolutely normal. It should not be suppressed with antibiotics. It is generally better not to interfere with the process. It can literally last from 1 to 3 days. 3 days is very rare. Mostly it happens from 1 to 1.5 days if a person does not interfere. This is possible. It still happens to me. If I make a powerful energetic leap, my body can raise the temperature the next day. But you shouldn't immediately attribute all your temperatures to how great you are. You still need to maintain awareness and observe your body. If, for example, the temperature jumps up and there is mucus and saliva flowing from all sides, everything is being cleansed, and this is a good process. It should be that way. If the temperature just jumps up, it's hard. The head hurts and the body barely moves. Most likely this is an infection, and the body is currently fighting this infection so that in a couple of days or a week everything will flow, including mucus and saliva. So, it is necessary to maintain awareness and understanding of the processes, and yes, such moments can occur, but you shouldn't attribute everything to a spontaneously raised temperature. Let's be honest, in most cases, a person's temperature rises due to illness, but yes, such things can also happen due to energy fluctuations.
I have a question regarding the heart-opening practice. I do it every day. At first, I felt impulses that rolled from the chest up to the head, sometimes on the inhale, sometimes on the exhale. Then I started to shout there, as you recommended, and everything changed. Now I don't feel the impulses at all. It has become more like the smoldering of a coal, if I can put it that way, and it just keeps smoldering stronger and stronger. And this glow goes not only to the head, but I also started to feel the effect in my limbs and some other parts of the body. At first there were like small spasms. Now I just feel a surge of fire. I am on the right path. It is normal that there are no more impulses.
Yes, these are absolutely normal processes. Now, the bindu manifests at the physical level, so there are these impulses, the spasms in the body are a reaction of the physical body to this, and it is a normal, healthy beginning of the process of opening the heart. As it ignites, becoming more voluminous and expansive, it may also produce impulses, but they will have a slightly different nature. To stimulate these impulses, one needs to invest more feelings into these processes, more love, more sincerity. One must strive towards the embrace of their soul. One needs to see all the beauty of this process, to feel all the beauty of this process, to strive for that vibration which contains the original relationship to one's creation. And then the impulses will appear again, but they will probably appear with ecstasy, similar to some non-physical processes, beyond bodily processes, some more voluminous, expansive, without a specific point of localization. So the processes are going correctly. Well, here it's only necessary to continue to increase the intensity of these things and to ensure that one does not in any case become satisfied with the result. Because as soon as we command our body that we are satisfied with everything, that's where everything immediately hangs. There must always be an inner striving for more, for the substantial, and through feeling, And through the strength of striving towards one's soul, it is through all this that one can do it all much more vividly. And eventually, a person reaches a state where they completely lose the ability to perceive their physicality, and that's where the magic and the indescribable begin.
And the second question regarding vision in practices. When I feel energies and processes at the level of sensations, it feels like the truth. Next, I have some visual images, but there is a feeling that this is actually far from reality, and that it is just a play of imagination based on these sensations. Is it really possible to see the process? And how does it work if our brain constantly adds its own images and interpretations? For example, in the practice of invoking death, I see and feel the flow and death, but I do not see or feel other bodies in parallel realities. What should I do about this?
Yes, of course, it is possible to reach authentic vision, but when a person reaches authentic vision, they lose the ability to verbalize it in any way. Initially, naturally, the brain will substitute images, and it is quite obvious that a person feels some kind of falseness occurring. You can't escape from this, but that doesn't mean you should run away from these images recklessly. No, you just need to be aware of what is happening right now. You need to be aware that the brain adjusts the image to the feeling, to the perception that begins to manifest. As consciousness accelerates, it is very important to have a quick mind. It is very important to have a free mind, that is, not embedded in some mundane realities. These are two important factors that open the possibility of direct vision of the present. But at the moment of direct vision, the brain is no longer working. That is, if you notice that you are talking to yourself, that is not seeing, that is nonsense. If you notice that thoughts are spinning in your head, that is not seeing, that is nonsense. When true vision occurs, you do not exist. You can only perceive yourself as pure perception. You do not have a form, you do not have a body. Nothing is stirring in you, nothing hurts, nothing is falling asleep. It is just some pure ecstasy when it is completely unclear where the body is, what is happening with it. It either exists or it does not. People who come out of the state of direct vision sometimes even get scared that they cannot identify their body in space. That is, where is my body? Ah, there it is, my body. That is, there is such a strong diversity of oneself with physics. But in order to enter these processes, there must be quick consciousness, and it must be free. Because if you have very quick consciousness, but it is not free, then you are most likely a successful person in material terms. If your consciousness is quick and free, it can be directed towards aspects of energy structures and see these energy structures, while turning off the perception of the physical and material world at midnight.
Good being. A question has arisen. The practice of gathering consciousness from the cocoon implies a review or a similar action to collect the scattered consciousness from past life. What will happen after the cocoon is shed? Should other practices be used for review? Or does shedding the cocoon imply that this process is already complete?
The practice of gathering consciousness from the cocoon implies that you are collecting it from the field, that is, the field structure, the field space. Accordingly, when we perform this energetic maneuver of shedding the cocoon, most of the crystallized field structures will be destroyed, and this consciousness will only remain to be drawn into your body. It will draw itself in. The thing is, we have physics, and within our physics there are also bound, constricted, crystallized consciousnesses that are hanging around. Any spasm, any tension, any psychological trauma, any unpleasant event, these are all constraining structures. So, if there is anything present within you that you cannot look at with acceptance, that you do not want to see, that causes you certain anxiety, all of this is constraining structures, no doubt about it. Accordingly, these manifestations, these crystals hang in the field, they also hang in the body, and they hang around the head. They also hang in the structures of the cocoon. Yes, by breaking the cocoon, we immediately burn part of these structures, but all the other structures do not go anywhere. After this special course, there are further practices, further self-development. We will go slowly. I will show all of this. You shouldn't create illusions for yourself that you need to wait until I show the last practice, and then we will all do it together. No, you can't do that. It's like going into a gym and saying, Where's the heaviest barbell? I'm going to train with it, and you won't even be able to move it. The same goes for taking the very last practice and just doing it. No, because you won't have enough, neither the ability nor the resources, neither the stillness of the body nor the clarity of consciousness. Nothing will be sufficient. Therefore, we are systematically moving through the steps that I have gone through. Although I was also initially so bold, fidgety, give me this, give me that. But no, just like everyone else, I went through all these steps, practiced all of this, mastered it all. And in fact, this gave me what I can do now. It's not that I know some secret practice, no. It's precisely because I went through all the steps and did it thoroughly.
Anton, hello. You often talk about your traditions. What are these traditions?
My tradition in the modern world relates to Hinduism and is called Sri Vidya. But in fact, it doesn't relate to any Hinduism because this tradition of Sri Vidya appeared long before the religion called Hinduism. But that's already who even needs this and who is interested.
Anton, thank you for the knowledge. Almost a year has passed, and only now has my consciousness matured. I stopped falling asleep and disconnecting when I started practicing. When I relax the center, I begin to feel the energy, directing my attention even more to relaxation, and the body starts to twitch in sharp convulsions, as if spasms are coming one after another. An impulse comes from the sacrum. The higher I advance through the centers, the higher the point from which it originates rises. But the body twitches the same, strongly arching in the lower back. When I work with the fifth center, the ribcage jumps more. After the convulsion, the energy fades and I need to start over. Can you please explain what this is?
Well, if I were an exorcist, I would probably say that demons are coming out. But since I am not an exorcist, I say that these are just constricting structures that are inside our body, slowly starting to loosen, to relax, and finally release the physicality. The human body can actually be very tense, and it has been this way for so long that the person does not identify it as tension. People have come to me who sat on the edge of their chairs and argued with foam at the mouth that they were completely relaxed and had nowhere else to relax. And when I asked, how are you then sitting on the edge of the chair? What is keeping you from sliding off and falling? They would immediately become speechless because they really did not understand that their body continues to be tense. The same goes here. Energy allows us to reach the reality of what is happening. And when a person practices energy work, their physicality, releasing its constricted, tense states, can express this quite interestingly. But if we don't get into exorcism, into demonizing all this, in reality we are, one way or another. We can meet these processes every morning, and it is nothing more than morning stretches, when a person wakes up in the morning and gently, calmly stretches themselves in all directions. Yes, there are people who forget to do this, who basically do not do it, but there are people who continue. Here, it's all the same, just happening in a somewhat accelerated, forced process, which can lead to cramps and twitching. It twists in different ways, but in reality, these are the same stretches, just at an accelerated pace. So, what can I recommend? I can recommend going to massage therapists, attending spa treatments, doing gymnastics, doing stretches. In other words, helping your body restore mobility, help your body restore the function of tension and relaxation. I will repeat, in most cases, in the overwhelming majority of cases, a person permanently keeps their body in tension even when sleeping, meaning they are no longer helping to relax the muscles, and this is very important. Anton, hello? How to connect physics, psychology, and energy. It is obvious that through love, we have the energy of connection, wholeness, unity. This is love. Through it, we connect. Love at the level of physics is when you take care of your body, nurture your body, train it, feed it, massage it, undergo spa treatments, and take it out somewhere. At the level of psychology, it is when you do not accumulate negativity within yourself, do not pour negativity into yourself, and do not become a dumping ground for other people. If someone has poured negativity into you, you somehow pour it out, either into someone else's ears or specifically to train people called psychologists. Or you simply let off steam somewhere in special establishments. In a gym, for example, on a punching bag or with a sparring partner. Emotions need to be cleared out of yourself. This is very important. Maintain balance in your psyche. Balance between positivity and negativity and energy. Energy should burn and flow. The more love a person has, the more their energy burns. We seek love exclusively in the area of our heart within the bindu. If we seek love somewhere outside, it is the wrong process. It won't work for long. Yes, it may flare up, create some temporary effect, and that's it, no more than that. If we need something permanent, it is precisely the bindu in the heart, our own soul, actually. That is the priority over everything else. And through love for the physical, through love for the psyche, through love for our own energy, we achieve unity.
I was looking for your view on charity in the chat, but I only found a question from Tatiana. No answer. It would be very interesting to hear, as I have a desire to volunteer and try to do something not for myself. For example, helping to prepare food for the homeless. Is this not interfering with their fate? And how will all this reflect on mine?
A person's energy is structured in such a way that it is vital for it to flow out. And the more we flow out our energies, the more pure, fresh consciousness flows into us. It's approximately like breathing. That is, we exhale carbon dioxide to a greater extent, and inhale oxygen to a greater extent. But at the same time, the amount of carbon dioxide affects the vitality of plants. That is, carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis in plants. We calmly generate it by consuming oxygen. At the energy level, it's the same. In our reality, the energies that a person can flow out are necessary. Accordingly, by flowing out these energies, a person maintains the cycle of energy circulation in space. Pure and fresh consciousness flows into it, and energy flows out of it. That is, these are channels, these are energy centers, and some part are gates. If a person for some reason does not do this, or if their energy flow system is disrupted, they can find mechanisms at more primitive, more material levels. This is nothing other than volunteering. It is nothing other than charity, some kind of gratuitous help, and so on. When a person starts to take these actions, they also initiate this flow process at the energy level. It cannot be said that this is the most effective system or the most effective way. But if a person is completely blocked from all sides, it is quite a workable method. The main thing to understand here is that you do this to maintain your own viability, not to save or help someone else. All that. So, if a person approaches with the position of I am going to save everyone, only Jesus Christ on the side, it breeds pride, pride breeds aggression, and then what? It just continues. If a person does this simply to enhance their viability, to restore this energy exchange, then they perform these actions and become, unavailable to feelings of self-importance, pride, and all those other qualities. Therefore, as an unconditional action, without expectations, without rewards, without any of your own notions that everyone should owe you something for some incredible reasons, if one performs such actions without all of this, yes, a person's viability increases. This is, in principle, the correct process. The other thing is that practical energy work allows you to do this several times more efficiently, without even getting up from your chair. It's enough to simply master these techniques, and that's it.